LA. Hey, LA. Yes, Missouri. Come on. Hello. Hi, Florida. Hey, H-Town. Hey, Baltimore. Detroit. Okay, D-Town. Ooh, every Arizona. Hello. Brooklyn, what's up? Oh my goodness, Gatlinburg. Oh, y'all are from everywhere. Oh my gosh, Lafayette. Listen, the boot. Hello. Hey, Chi-Town. Hi, Tampa. We got Jersey in the house. We got Ohio in the house. Everybody that knows me, the people closest to me, know that I am a Southern girl, but I have family all over the US. So all of these places y'all are talking about, I rep these places. Okay, I love these places. Hey, North Carolina. Hey, El Paso, Texas. How's the weather? Ooh, Savannah, Georgia. Listen, Savannah is beautiful. I love Savannah. Listen, I got to go back. I went last year and fell in love. I swear to God, I would move to Savannah. Hey, Michigan. Okay, New Iberia, Louisiana. Okay, I see you. Hi, Duval. Hello. Oh my goodness. Y'all are coming from everywhere. ATL in the house. You know, we got to rep those dirty birds out here. Yes. Hey, Callie. Hi, hello. Somebody said hello in my Medea voice. Hello. Okay, Detroit, what's up? H-Town. Yes, I love it. Well, welcome. I'm so glad you all are here. Richmond, New Orleans, Alabama. I'm originally from Montgomery. What's up? Went to UAB. How you doing? Hi, New Haven. Welcome. So, all of you have either found me through YouTube or perhaps you have found me through someone that referred you to my channel or my personal, my Facebook, my Instagram, however you found me. Welcome. I'm happy that you're here. Just so I understand what type of crowd I'm talking to, I need to know, as part of this whole event for today and tomorrow, this is the credit score challenge, the perfect credit score challenge. And when I say perfect, I don't mean having an 850. I mean a perfect credit score for what it is that you're trying to do. So what is an ideal, a perfect credit score? What is the credit score that you all need to get to in order to get that house, that business loan, better employment? What is it? What are we aiming for? Okay, 700s. Okay, I see some 650s out there. Yep. I'm looking at some 620s. Some of you just want to get your foot in the door with the mortgage companies. I feel you. I see you. Got it. Yes. 800. Okay, we can do that. All right. As you all know, I am someone. Okay, 700. Okay, cool. One thing about it, whatever score you're aiming for, it's the score that you aim for. Don't go off of anyone else's scores that they have or anything like that. Just a little bit about me. I started at 495. I'm at an 836 now. So if I can go from a 495 to an 836, these 600s, these 700s that you all are looking for, you're talking to the right person. Okay. Yeah. Purchasing homes. You're at a 500 diamond. Okay. Diamond. Let me tell you something. All credit is fixable. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. I don't care if you're at a 500. I don't care if you're at a 490. All credit is fixable. And no, it doesn't take years to do. And no, it doesn't cost thousands of dollars to do it. So let me start showing you all my screen because I want to hop right in. Again, welcome to the Perfect Credit Score Challenge. This is our summer session. So a lot of you already know about me, who I am. You've seen me on YouTube. But some of the other things that I want to just kind of point out are I'm the real deal, okay? I've been featured in Business Insider, Good Morning America, Cheddar News, Forbes, CNBC, Acorn, Yahoo Finance, The Balance, and many, many other publications. They didn't have your girl up there just because I got a pretty smile. I've been featured on these outlets simply because I have been deemed a credit expert by these outlets. I graduated with $100,000 in student loan debt. It's paid. I come from Section 8 housing. We were on every form of government assistance you can think of when I was a child. I come from a single parent household. So when I tell you I know the struggle and I overcame the struggle, I absolutely did. I'm a God girl. I have to give all graces, honor, and glory to God for getting me to where I am today. As some of you may also know, I've worked in tech, I've worked for financial companies, but credit is something that's been passionate. It's a passion for me. It has been for the last 10 years of my life. So I have helped many, many people, and that's what I love. It's what I ultimately, I feel like that's my purpose. My purpose is to use my story to show you where I came from so that you know that where you're trying to get to is completely possible. So I just want you all to know where I started and where I am today is night and day, but I had faith. I stuck to my purpose. I stuck to what I wanted. I had my vision board and I made all of that happen. And I had some people to help me along the way too. So this is my way of paying it forward, of giving back to you all because somebody had to help me. So I'm here to help you. So again, I want to welcome you and just talk a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. I know everyone probably has kids, you've got work in the morning, so I don't want to take too much of your time. But what we're going to kind of review is we're going to do a credit overview. I know you all are excited about the hacks that we've been talking about, the 24-hour inquiry removal hack. We'll get into that. We'll get into the late payment removal hack. Then we'll talk a little bit about collections and charge-offs and how to get those removed. We'll talk about public record and how to get that removed. And we'll also go into the secret credit bureaus. A lot of you think there are only 3 credit bureaus out there, and I'm just here to let you know that there are several credit bureaus that ultimately gauge what you're doing with your accounts and how credit worthy you are when you're applying for these loans. So a lot of people say, well, Jazzy, I have a 700 across Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, but I keep getting denied for loans. Well, did you check in with Inovis? Have you checked in with Check Systems? These are other credit bureaus. And I will show you how to identify those other credit bureaus because those are the ones that ultimately keep you from getting approved for different mortgages. And of course, some lenders will not share that with you because it's not really their job, but y'all know I spill tea. So I'm telling you everything that I know. I've had people try to ban my YouTube channel and process my YouTube channel, actual collection agencies that felt like I was giving out too much information, but Google had my back, YouTube had my back, and my channel is still out here. So I am giving you all the tea that I wish somebody would have gave me. So let's hop right in. Again, wealth strategist, money coach, investor, owner of the Jazzy Mac brand, passionate about wealth building. To date, I've helped over 10,000 people use my methods so that they can walk into home ownership. I am passionate about building wealth. That is it. I'm not passionate about spending money. I'm not passionate about working a job the rest of my life. I'm passionate about building wealth and showing my community how to do it. The 3 F's that I live by are faith, family, and food. That's my love language. If you ever upset me, just bring me something to eat. I'm a big girl. I like to eat. I'm a wife to Jay, mommy to little Jay, and also to Blue. So those are just some fun facts for you all to know a little bit more about me. So what is credit and why do we need it? Credit is basically, it's just a report card that talks about how financially responsible we are. Now, a lot of you may think that credit is only about getting a home or getting a credit card or getting a business loan, but did you know that credit is also used in employment decisions? So if there are certain jobs that you're trying to get in order to build wealth or in order to get a home, they're running credit checks, especially with the whole identity theft things and all of these different security breaches that have happened. The credit checks are a way for companies to, one, make sure it's you, but then two, they also want to determine if you're going to be a reliable employee. It is an assumption that if someone is a good worker, they also make on-time payments, or they also don't have delinquencies. So that is kind of the correlation that certain companies will use, especially if you work in finances, or if you work in like a VP or a director role. That's something that is also used. So credit is used for background checks. It's also used for insurance rates. It's used for security clearances. Credit is used for a lot of different things. So don't let someone tell you that a good, clean bill of credit isn't important, because you can have money, but if the credit isn't there, if it doesn't match your profile, people will deem you as, not worthy. And I don't want people to think that way about you. So, Jasmine, she said, I lost a job because an apartment complex snuck a charge off on my credit that wasn't supposed to be there, but she finally got it removed. And see, that will happen. People have lost jobs because of things that pop up on their credit. So don't think that these companies aren't checking your credit, because they are. She said, thanks to you. Jasmine's united. We have to look out for each other, right? So let's talk about do's and don'ts of credit. When we're trying to clean up our credit profile, there are a lot of things that ultimately raise red flags with the credit bureaus. So one of those things we've talked about so many different times, using credit repair companies. We don't want to just pay someone to use to ultimately dispute things on our behalf, because one, credit bureaus kind of know when you're using a credit repair company. So there are times where they look at that as an inauthentic dispute. It's kind of like, oh, we don't really know if you're really, really being honest about this dispute. We don't really know, because you're like, somebody else is doing it on your behalf and they're not your attorney. So these companies that you're hiring are not considered somebody that they truly think is representing your best interest. And they know how a lot of credit repair companies operate. So that's why a lot of times when people hire a Lexington Law, or they hire the credit repair pros, all those different companies, they pay thousands of dollars and don't see any results, because the bureaus are like, we don't think that what you're doing is authentic. So as far as the do's and don'ts, the cardinal rule is we want you to use FICO credit reports. Do not use sites like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, freecreditscore.com. These sites are not reliable. They're not what your mortgage officer is going to use. They're not what the credit card companies are going to use. These sites are free for a reason. And they're so free that you'll end up getting an incorrect credit report and score, because the information sources that they're pulling the information from are not accurate. Now, when it comes to cleaning up your credit and removing those derogatory items from your credit, you do not want to dispute online. When you dispute online, you ultimately give up your right to arbitration. That means that if a credit bureau is not acting on your behalf the way that they're supposed to act as far as investigating things and removing things, that means that you just signed away your rights. When you check that little box for an online dispute, you're basically giving up your rights to sue the credit bureaus if it came down to that, or to do any sort of litigation. So we don't want to give up our power. We don't want to empower the credit bureaus. We want to empower ourselves. So we always want to handwrite our disputes and send it certified. Credit bureaus will lie, and they'll say things got lost in the mail. So you do not want to be that person that went through all of this trouble to send the letter off for a dispute and it ultimately got lost in the mail. Pay the extra $5 to put signature confirmation on that letter to make sure you have proof that it landed in somebody's hand, because that's going to be a very critical piece of information and a paper trail that you'll need to have if you're disputing items and they're not removing it. Because we have to talk about who we can report the credit bureaus to should the bureaus not remove those items. Because everybody has somebody they have to answer to. There are people watching the credit bureaus, right? So call and fall and the address updates are the only exception. Now we'll talk about what call and fall is. That has to do with the inquiries, which we'll talk about, and the address updates. Those are the only exceptions that I would do over the phone because it's quicker. And those aren't quite like disputing like an account. You know, that's more disputing personal information. So we'll go over that. Third rule, do not lie when you're trying to clean up your credit. Don't lie and say, I never had that account, and you know you had that account. Because listen, you don't make things easy for yourself if you're not operating with integrity. So there are a lot of different ways that a company can prove that you had an account. So don't allow someone to, you know, have like this red flag that they see when your name pops up because you're sending in what's known as frivolous dispute. So we can dispute things, but we're going to do it in an honest way. The fourth thing is do not use the same dispute reasons. A lot of the time, again, credit repair doesn't work because they're using the same reason. They're not customizing their reason. They're not using actual error information as a valid part of their dispute process. When you do these disputes and you send them off, you want to wait 30 days between disputes. If you dispute back to back to back to back, again, you raise a red flag. And it makes it harder for you to get a collection removed or a bankruptcy removed or, you know, getting late payments and stuff like that removed. It makes it harder because it just looks like you're not being honest, like you're just pulling stuff out of the wazoo. So you have to be strategic and calculated in how you do disputes. And I've said in other videos, you never want to dispute anything when it comes to the number of accounts. You don't want to dispute more than 5 accounts per month, because a lot of people will try to dispute 20 different accounts, and the bureaus are smart. They're like, listen, we know all 20 of those accounts aren't like, you know, frivolous. We know that they're not erroneous accounts. So you want to be very strategic about how you move. And yes, we will talk about the other secret credit bureaus, those other third-party bureaus. Yes. So that was a lot of background for you all, because I need you to understand the basics before we get into the removal process. Because if you miss these steps that we just went over, you pretty much cut your chances in half for getting anything removed. A lot of people want to jump the gun and they want to take the easy way and do it online. And then they come back and get stuff that's verified and it doesn't get removed. And now they're back at square one. So absolutely, yes, feel free to take a screenshot of this. A replay is going to be sent to you. That'll be available. But if you want to take screenshots now, then feel free to do that. Absolutely. This information is for you all to soak in. So, Shakima, I'll get to that question about the 7-year mark. We'll talk about that. So, the first hack is the 24-hour inquiry removal hack. Now, this is something that is super important because a lot of you have a higher credit score, but your loans or applications might get denied because you have too many inquiries. A lot of the times we'll see a bunch of inquiries pop up on your credit report simply because you were shotgunned. And what happens in a situation, let's say you go to a car dealership and you say, hey, you can pull my credit. And you're thinking they're only sending your credit report to one company, but at 30 pop up because they're really shopping it around, trying to get you approved. Well, now you've got 30 inquiries that the next lender is going to look at and say, this person seems desperate. We don't want to lend money to somebody that seems desperate. So you didn't sign 30 different applications. You only signed one application. So a lot of in those situations, even if you did get the car, you still got 29 other companies that pulled your credit without your consent. and that's known as shotgunning. So let me know if that's ever happened to anybody. Those are hard inquiries. Those are hard inquiries. Yes, they do appear on your credit. Yes, and they do. Yep, it's happened to a bunch of y'all. It's happened to me too. It absolutely has happened to me before. And this is stuff they don't want you to know about. But it's reversible. So the way that you reverse it, for one, you can have inquiries removed as long as they're not tied to an active open account or a previously closed account. So that one account that you were able to get the loan through, or that you were able, to get financing through, that account that's active that you're making payments on, that's not something that this method is going to work for. In fact, if you try to use it for an open account, then you could be deemed as being frivolous. You're only using this method for accounts that are not currently open, that you've never had open, ever. Okay, so, and this process does not work when you do it online. You have to do this over the phone. And this is what is called the call and fall script. We make a call, we talk to somebody for a few minutes, and the inquiries fall off of our credit. You cannot dispute inquiries for closed accounts, because if the account is closed, that means that it was active at one point. And if the account was active and you go and say, I didn't authorize this, now you're getting into identity theft. And that's a totally different process. And once you go through identity theft, there's an affidavit you have to send in. There are police reports they're going to request from you. They may put a freeze on your accounts across the bureaus. So trust me, you don't want to try to dispute something that you knowingly had an account for, because that's going to make you look frivolous, and then they're going to make you do all of this work to prove it, and it's not going to be worth it. Trust me, like, don't do that. You can dispute. There's no time limit on things that you can dispute. No, Adrian, there is no time limit on what or when you can dispute. So what is the call and fall script? This is basically where you would call these different numbers. You would enter in your information, go through the prompts, and you would ask to speak to a fraud rep. And you're going to basically say, hey, let me go to this next slide of what you would say. You'd say, listen, I noticed several inquiries that were not authorized that I didn't do a credit application for in my name. And according to the FCRA guidelines, these unauthorized inquiries have to be removed. And no, I have not submitted a police report because that isn't required for this. I already reached out to the creditors, and those creditors have not removed those unauthorized inquiries. Now, the rep's going to place you on hold to do research. Within 24 hours, those inquiries should result in an investigation that is complete, and that should result in those inquiries being removed. Now, if the inquiries are not removed, and you know that there is no active accounts or closed accounts related to those, then your escalation point would be speaking to the CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, which is the umbrella that monitors the credit bureaus to make sure that they're treating consumers accordingly, and that they're not doing any sort of, foul behavior towards consumers. So that's kind of like your protection agency. You can think of the CFPB, it's kind of like your big brother, it's like your best friend. It's who you tell when companies are mistreating you. CFPB is awesome. I've used them several times to get several accounts removed from my credit report that I had not authorized, or that, just didn't have my consent. So they are an awesome resource. So these would be the steps that you would take. And yes, I will go back if you want to screenshot these numbers. I will give you 5 seconds to screenshot. Here we go. All right, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And you can also screenshot this if you would like, because this is the script that I have personally used and that I have had others to use to get those unauthorized inquiries removed. Again, if you authorized it, if you know you applied for a credit card and you got the credit card and it's open, if what happens if you try to remove an inquiry that's linked to an open account, it's going to close the whole account down. You're probably going to have to do some identity theft stuff. And that can ultimately, if they remove those accounts and it had positive history, you can ultimately lower your credit score. So this is why we operate with integrity. Yes. And there is a replay available for this, so don't worry. All right. So when it comes to late payments, there are ways to remove late payments. Some people will tell you to just dispute it, which a lot of that is going to come back verified. They're going to do auto verifications based on your address. We'll talk about the whole address removal thing a little bit later. But when it comes to late payments, the more strategic route for you to take would be to pull your credit reports, identify the late payments, and then you're going to look up the company that you have the late payments from. You're going to email the CEO. Now, I do currently for some of my special besties, my students, we have an actual entire list of CEOs from the major credit card companies and auto loan companies to make it easy. But if you just want to Google who the CEO of your credit card company is, then you'll locate that person's email and you'll send them an email using a script that I'm about to show you. So a few things: don't be aggressive or demanding. This is us asking them to remove a late payment. So we're not going to be mean about it. We're going to be very humble. Be patient and provide accurate callback information, because most of the time they will call you back within a couple of days. So this is the script. My name is so-and-so, and I really enjoy using my Amex card. During the pandemic, I lost my job and unfortunately missed a payment on my account. This lowered my credit score by 100 points. I'm in the process of securing a mortgage for my family and want to humbly request that you adjust the payment to an on-time status. This is very important to specifically say on-time status. I've already enrolled in auto pay and I've created a budget for my household to ensure that I never miss a payment again. I'd be so grateful if you make this one-time adjustment. Please let me know if there is any additional information I can provide. Your leadership with the company and its impact on its customers has been absolutely phenomenal, especially during the pandemic. Thank you so much. Look forward to hearing from you. You're going to enter in your first and last name, your account number, and your phone number, because they're definitely going to give some type of response to you to follow up with you. Companies like Discover, if you have a credit card with Discover has been pretty lenient with their customers that have late payments. Them and Capital One are known for like adjusting payments that were late and making them be on time. So yes, this is a script that you can use with pretty much any credit card company. Now they are going to look at your credit card payment history. So if you're someone that only missed 1 or 2 payments in the last year or so, then you're more likely to get those payments, either forgiven or updated. If you're someone that consistently has late payments, 10 late payments in the last 12 months, then it's going to be more difficult and we have to come up with a different strategy for you. This can also work for auto loans. Again, if you had just 1 or 2 missed payments on your auto loan, a lot of companies, when you email the CEO, they'll work with you. But if it's multiple missed payments, then that can be a different story. And again, we would have to kind of craft a different strategy for you to use. So those are your 2 hacks. Those are literally things that you can do tomorrow morning. So you can even, if you wanted to draft an email tonight, you could do it tonight, but I prefer to send emails in the morning. So you could absolutely do the call and fall with the inquiries. You can do that over the phone in the morning. That process might take 15 minutes. If the hold times are longer, it might take a little bit longer. So just stay patient. But obviously within 24 hours, you should see that reflected on your credit report. If you do a fresh report, sometimes it takes them a few days to update. This late payment hack has worked for a lot of the people that have gone through my academy. And when they applied these methods, they saw 100-point score increases, because one late payment can lower your score by 100 points. If you had perfect credit, you had a 700 or 800, one late payment can lower you by 100 points. This is why this stuff is so important. That's why we take different approaches to disputing, because we want to do it in a more effective way, right? So this is something, make sure you screenshot that. Again, the replay is available. Oh, I'm glad the Academy was helpful for you. Oh my goodness. I love hearing reports like that. I'm so glad you found it helpful. Yes, yes, yes. All right. And let's see, there was a question. If the late payments are from years ago, but you have recent on-time payment history, you can still ask for the adjustment. Some companies will only report late payments that happened in the last 2 years. So you could say, hey, how often do you report late payments? How far back do you go? You can ask that question. You could call in and ask it, or you can email it and ask. You can say, how far back do you go with late payments? Oh, you only do the last 24 months? Okay, well, I noticed a payment from 36 months ago that has a late status on it. Could you please update this to on time? Ask. Listen, I tell my PCR students, perfect credit recipe students, those students, I tell them to kick in the door. We don't sit around and wait on somebody to offer us something. We ask. Ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Okay. So make sure you are being intentional in what you ask for, because you won't get it unless you say something. So let's talk about collections and charge-off removal methods. One thing I still want to make sure, yeah, you said your goodwill letter didn't work. That's because your goodwill letter probably just landed in some generic department. It didn't go to the CEO's office, and it didn't go to the credit underwriting department. So the people that you're emailing have to be specific people. It cannot just be some generic department where nobody really cares about the consumer. So that's why you have to be very intentional and direct about who these letters are going to. We're going to talk about old addresses in just a minute, Dee. Yep, we're going to get to that. Now, when it comes to collections and charge-offs, there are a few different removal methods. Now, we know about disputing. We know about round 1 and round 2 letters, but I want to specifically speak to collections and charge-offs that have illegal collection fees attached to them. Simply because that illegal collection fee it's possible that that fee will invalidate the entire balance. The entire debt can be invalidated if there is an illegal collection fee. The way that you discover what your collection fees are supposed to be is you're going to ask for the original contract. You can get that original contract by directly calling the collection agency and saying, hey, send me a copy of my my original contract. Or you can, if it's from a medical facility, you can call the medical facility and say, hey, I want a copy of my original contract. That contract is going to say how much the collection agencies can charge you for their fees. Now, it has to be a specific fee. It has to say this collection agency can charge 10%. If it doesn't specify how much they can charge, then anything that collection agency tacked on is considered illegal, because it has to be explicitly stated in the original contract. It can't be all vague. That's not fair to consumers. That's not how that can be considered predatory lending. If it's super vague and they're not being specific and they're not letting you know how much you might be liable for should it go to collections, that's not good consumer practices. And this is why you have to read the contract terms. Usually it's in that tiny print, but you have to start practicing reading through the terms that state what happens if you were to default on a loan, because that's going to be the section that tells you whether or not something being sent to collections is actually legal or not, right? So what if they can't provide the original contract? Well, then the debt is not valid. How can you charge me for something that you cannot prove exists? That's contract law 101. So if the original merchant doesn't have the contract, if the collection agencies don't have the contract, guess what happens? Delete, delete. It has to disappear, because at that point you are not validating the debt. We do disputes because we're challenging the validity of the debt. That's what we're doing. So if you can't validate this debt with the original contract, then that means that this debt shouldn't exist. And that's where we get into, okay, I'm giving you 30 days, credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. This company doesn't have the original contract. Give me y'all 30 days to delete this. If you don't delete it, I'm going to escalate it to my big brother, the CFPB. And I'll talk to you about how that process goes. We've already went over that, but that's our escalation point. Remember, we're utilizing our consumer resources. We're kicking in doors, we're being bold, and we're asserting our consumer rights. So disputing is one method, pay for delete is the other. I have a list of companies that I know for certain offer pay for delete. Now, if you have something in collections or as a charge off, and let's say the balance is 5,000, if the account has already been written off, it's easy to say, hey, I only got $1,000 for y'all, okay? I'm going through a lot financially. All I got is $1,000 to settle this account. Take it or leave it. Remember, they bought that debt for pennies on the dollar. They bought it. The original company sold it. So a lot of them will say, okay, we'll accept a lower amount in order to settle this debt. But in order for your credit score to improve, that collection or that charge off has to be deleted. It doesn't help if they just change the balance to zero. And they trick a lot of people like that, because they'll change the balance to zero, but you still got that stain on your credit. You still got that derogatory history behind it. So we got to get rid of all of the history. We got to delete the whole account in order for it to have a positive impact on the credit score. So don't ever let someone say, well, if you just pay this, we'll update it to zero. That doesn't help me. I'm going to need you to put it in writing that you're agreeing to delete it from my report upon receipt of payment. That is the only way that happens. Now, if somebody agrees to do that and they ultimately don't remove it, then we escalate it to Big Brother. And who is Big Brother again? Who did we say was Big Brother? What was the name of the agency? Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, CFPB. That's it. Yes, that is who we escalate these matters to. But we have to do our work first. We have to say, I did step 1, 2, and 3, and this is what they did. Now I'm handing it over to you guys, CFPB, to get involved to make these companies do what they're supposed to do. Now, again, Rochelle, that's an excellent question. What if you paid off an account? Should you get that removed? What did I just say? I don't care if the balance is zero. If it is a negative account, a collection, a charge off, a repossession, whatever, as long as that account is on your credit showing derogatory history, it would behoove you to have it removed. A lot of people think that to a lender, it looks better that you paid a derogatory account like a collection or a charge off. They think that it looks better, but what you're really seeing is, yeah, you paid it, but you didn't pay it on time. You paid it, but you were still super late. So that could make a lender still kind of say, I don't know about this person. Yeah, this person still, they paid it, but if I lend them some money for a house, they might be late paying me too. So that's why we don't want to give them any reason to say no to us. We don't want to leave that up in the air. Now, when it comes to disputing accounts, there's no like clock on it. You can dispute any account, any age of an account once it hits your credit. Because disputing means that you're asking for them to validate it. You're just challenging whether or not it's a valid account. That's what you're doing. You're not saying I don't own the account. You're not saying I never had this service or I never used this product. You're saying I'm just challenging the validity of it. And then the third step for removal, well, it's the third method in disputing, isn't a method that you want to use, or if the company doesn't offer paid for delete, there's something called the expiration, which is the AKA statute of limitations, which means that no account, once it goes derogatory, it cannot stay on your credit report longer than 7.5 years. That is the maximum amount of time that a derogatory account can sit on your account, on your credit, regardless of the balance, regardless of anything. It cannot sit there longer than 7.5 years. I've heard people say that they had like some sort of medical collection from a service that was 10 years ago, but it's still showing up on their credit because the companies keep selling the debt to different collection agencies. They're reselling and reselling and reselling. I'm here to tell you that if they keep re-aging the account, re-aging is illegal. You cannot extend the amount of time that something stays on a person's credit report. So that goes for bankruptcies, charge-offs, repossessions, 7.5, except for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I think that can stay up to 10 years. The Chapter 13 bankruptcy, I believe, can only stay 7.5. So repossessions, charge-off, late payments, all of that has to be removed after 7 years. That is the maximum amount of time that it can stay on there. And again, if companies are repurchasing your debt and selling it and they're re-aging the account, that is highly, highly illegal. Yeah, Theodora, perfect question. She said, I have an auto loan that closed in 2017 and they charged it off, but they're still reporting it as recent. What should I do? I would definitely dispute that, because if the account was charged off in 2017, that means there was no activity on that account. It's closed at that point. How can there be activity on an account that's closed? Sounds a little fishy to me. So that would be a great reason to dispute, even if they're still trying to collect payments. Once an account goes to closed for the original merchant, everything that happens after the close date, it cannot be reported as recent activity, because how can you report on something that's closed? The only thing they can do is change the balance if you were to pay off the balance, but they can't say, oh, this person is still missing payments. You cannot continue to add late payments or missed payments to an account that is already closed. That's super illegal. Yeah, super, super illegal. That is a great question because it happens all the time. And they do that as a way of trying to like force a payment out of you. But it's like, okay, you can ask me for the payment, but you can't do like illegal stuff. Like, that's just not okay. So yeah, that's a perfect reason to dispute. And it's a perfect reason to escalate it to the CFPB and report them. Perfect reason. And that's what I do. Like, I hold people's hand through this because I know it can be intimidating sometimes. I've taken so many family members through this process. And it's just like, my mom was a victim of predatory lending. I was a victim of predatory lending. I actually had a company that had to pay me almost $4,000 because we settled out of court because I identified what they were doing as predatory and I reported it. And that was just their way of handling it out of court. So they had to pay me at the end of the day. So it's like, listen, I look at it like you all are my community, and if people are mistreating you, I have a problem with that. So that's why it's my pleasure to walk you through this process, because it's a lot easier than you think. It can be intimidating, but trust me, when you know your consumer rights, no, people cannot do that to you. Once you know your rights, things get so much brighter. Trust me. So when it comes to bankruptcy, repo, and evictions, now, I know we're kind of like at the end of this session and I don't want to go too long, so I'm going to breeze through this. But for bankruptcy removal, there's a certain method called the 4R envelope method that I developed. And it involves disputing certain errors that are associated with your bankruptcy. So there were accounts that were included that should have been discharged in that bankruptcy, but those accounts are appearing by themselves, then I have a problem with that. And that has to be removed. And that makes the whole bankruptcy invalid. That's how we get a whole lot of things deleted related to a bankruptcy, because we find errors with them. So The credit bureaus have an obligation to report accurate information. You can't report 90% accurate because that's not accurate. Either it's 100% accurate or it has to be deleted. There is no gray area there. And again, that's done to protect consumers from predatory lending. And so the other thing with repos, you've heard me talk about the settlements from companies like Santander, Ally Financial. There have even been issues with companies like Wells Fargo when it comes to repossessions, Navy Federal. There are so many settlements that have happened where if you had a repossession that occurred, it has to be removed from your credit report. There's a certain way you have to do it, but it still has to be removed. And I think Ally Financial was the most recent one that happened just a few months ago, where they had to pay out $787 million. They had to pay it back to consumers because of predatory lending practices and things like premature repos, where they were repossessing people's cars before they gave them an opportunity to make the payment. So there's all sorts of stuff like that that you can use as part of your dispute process to get the repo removed, even if it's a brand new, like even if it's a repo from a year ago, you can get that stuff removed with certain little loopholes like that. Yeah, it is very nasty business practices. And I'm like, I'm here, like, as long as you businesses keep messing up and you keep doing my friends like this, I'm gonna keep spilling this tea and getting this stuff removed. And in situations like with Ally, they actually had to pay consumers back money. A lot of consumers got checks back from those companies after they repoed different cars. That's a whole lesson. Like, people think repos are hard to get removed. They're not. People think bankruptcy is hard to get removed. It's not. Even evictions. Evictions are not supposed to show on your credit. An eviction is the result of a judgment. It should not be on your credit. Legally, the Big Three deemed in 2018 that evictions could no longer be shown on credit. But you know who does show it? Those secret credit bureaus. And even if you have perfect credit, those secret bureaus also run reports, those third-party bureaus, and they send that information to lenders. So now we have to remove that information from those third-party bureaus in order to keep them from being able to report the evictions about us. So these are pretty, they're simple, but they're complex in how you handle it, because you have to be very careful not to miss any steps when it comes to bankruptcy, repo, and eviction removals. So I pretty much kind of like teach that separately, because that's something I really have to hold your hand through. I don't like to just give somebody blanket information. That is something that is a lot more detailed. So yeah. Dylan said, yeah, no copy paper used by me, make it hard for the computers to read. Yep. When it comes to disputing, we always want to handwrite. We never want to print, because they're going to send it through a scanner. It's going to come back auto verified. And then you're going to be just sitting there with that stuff on your credit. It's not going to be removed. Clarice said, well, come hold my hand. I need it. Listen, I got you. That's what I'm here for. Somebody held my hand, so it's time for me to hold your hand. Listen. So just some credit boosting tips for you all that need to get out of here. As for credit limit increases, if you have current credit cards, increasing the limit ultimately lowers your credit utilization. High credit utilization and low usage gives you a higher score. Make sure you ask them if it's going to be an inquiry, like a soft one or a hard one, before you do that. Becoming an authorized user. AU stands for authorized user. That's basically where someone with perfect credit, whether it's a friend, family member, husband, whoever, that person that has perfect credit can ultimately add you to their account as an authorized user. You don't have to have access to the account. You don't have to have a credit card. They're just simply adding you as an authorized user. What's great about that is you inherit that person's account history. So if they had that credit card for 20 years and they had perfect payment history, you now have 20 years of perfect payment history. This is a great way to skyrocket your credit when you become an authorized user. But if the person has bad payment history, then you're going to inherit that. So be careful with who you do that. And of course, paying down high balances on active accounts. Always a great way to improve your credit. Removing those derogatory items, having perfect payment history and pulling those student loans out of default. Everybody thinks student loans are so bad, but student loans are accounts, they're payment histories. If it's in a default status and it comes out of default status, thanks to the CARES Act, then you're able to see an improvement in your credit score because now you have good payment history. So it's ways that you can leverage those student loans for good without trying to, like, put yourself in a bind of paying them all off if you're not able to. And if there is an authorized user situation that, maybe their payment history starts to go down, they don't do well with payment history, you can be removed. So it's not like you're locked into a contract thing. You can absolutely be removed from an authorized user. Yes. Yes, you can dispute fraud. But remember, if you screen fraud, they're going to take you through a whole different process. And you have to be very careful with fraud cases because they take fraud very seriously. Yeah. So I'm not saying don't dispute it. If somebody put fraudulent accounts in your name, absolutely dispute it. But you have to be very careful when using that word. But it works for like shotgunning. When we talked about those unauthorized inquiries, yeah, it's kind of fraud. If you're running my credit and I didn't explicitly give you permission to do it, I gave permission to John's company, but not Susie's company. Susie, you're not operating legally because I didn't sign off on you to run my credit. There isn't really a specific method for asking for a credit line increase. You just call them up and say, hey, I'm interested in increasing my credit limit. That's it. Are you going to do a soft inquiry or a hard one? That's it. Easy peasy. I did want to give a shout out to some of my credit besties. I know y'all thought like I wasn't going to mention y'all. Some of these people are on the line now. Some of them aren't. Angelica used my templates, and within a month, she saw a 121 point score increase. Less than a month. All she did was write a letter. She used the letters that I gave her. She had a custom template that she used for her situation. 121 point increase. Jazzy, I'm so grateful for you. Got the derogatory remarks removed in 10 days. 10 days for their collection accounts. Credit score is up 150 points. Girl, we did it. Purchase your templates, went from 520 to 607. I go on and on about this stuff. All this is on YouTube. If you ever want to if you ever need some inspiration, just read my YouTube comments. These are all people from YouTube that have come back, that have used my methods, and they just come back to give their little testimony and just like to give their score update. Derogatory means that the account is either late or is closed or charged off in a negative way. So derogatory is like saying that the account has a very negative status. Ooh, hold on, Amy, girl, you're holding out on me. You used my credit boost roadmap and you went up 95 points. Amy is in the comments right now. I'm reading the comments. Girl, you holding out on me, Amy. I'm proud of you. You didn't tell me that. Why didn't you come back to YouTube and tell me? I would have been bragging on you. I would have put your name up here. Amy saw a 95 point increase. That's amazing. So amazing. I'm so proud of you. So I've given you everything that you need to get started. I understand some people want to have more of a hand-holding experience. Of course, you all know I don't really do one-on-one sessions. I just had a baby. I run this business. I work full-time. So it's not possible for me to serve 80,000 people with one-on-ones. I don't have the time, but I do every now and then. With this situation, I decided to do a workshop, a 2-day workshop that kicks off June 6th and 7th. And it's going to not only have live Q&A, you'll also be able to get all of the removal templates for the collections, the charge-offs, the late payments, the 24-hour removal script, the address, name, and removal guide, and Q&A. So you'll have access to me to ask any questions that you want. We'll stay on the call. It's going to be a Zoom. We'll be on the Zoom as long as you need to answer whatever questions. If you're saying, hey, I'm headed to the post office to mail off my letters, or hey, this is the response that I got from a credit bureau. What do I do? This is where we talk about it during the workshop. I don't do this because it's very time consuming But I wanted to do this because I know a lot of people had difficulty getting homes. A lot of people had difficulty starting businesses with the pandemic. So I just wanted to like just kind of like offer myself to people in that way. Um, yeah, I felt like it was what God wanted me to do. God was like, girl, go help them folks. So that was just kind of where I came up with the idea. I did an academy that was a 6-week academy, but I realized a lot of people don't have 6 weeks to kind of go through a slower process. A lot of people have until the end of this month to find a place to stay or to move somewhere. And so that is ultimately why I tried to do a 2-week workshop. I'm sorry, a 2-day workshop that allows you to kind of have like a crash course in more of an accelerated way where you can start implementing the stuff tonight or tomorrow. And then next week, come back with your questions, anything that you have. Hold on, Amy. Amy is showing out. All because of you, I got approved for $100,000 business line of credit. I needed a better score and you helped me. Amy, I got such a bone to pick with you because you didn't tell me about any of this. Like, Amy, I'm happy for you, but you didn't tell me this. So I have a little bit of beef with you, Amy. I'm proud of you, but I got beef with you. That's amazing. What is the business? Because then I gotta buy from you. Tell me what the business is. Now, for those of you that have other things like bankruptcy, repos, and evictions, again, much deeper, much more complex things. I actually have a 4-day workshop for that to pretty much discuss how to get those things removed with the whole secret bureau, secret credit bureau things. It's a process, but it's doable. For my uncle, I got his bankruptcy removed in less than 2 weeks. It's like 10 days. Y'all, I don't play the radio. I don't play with these companies. I don't. I just don't. Like I feel like that's my talent. My talent is helping people with their credit when nobody else wants to. And I'm not going to charge somebody $1,000 to do that. No, that's ridiculous. People are struggling enough as it is. Why would I charge somebody $1,000 to do that? No, I'm not that. Mm-mm. So if you want to sign up for those things, the gold, if you do the gold, that's just for your charge-offs, collections, late payments. That's June 6th and 7th. If you do the platinum, you can get access to the June 6th and 7th workshop, those 2 days, plus an additional 2 deep dive days. If you have a different situation that you really, really want to kind of dig into, that'll be on June 11th and June 12th. I don't do this. This is not going to like happen again. So this would be the only time that you're really able to sign up for something like that. So yeah, I'll put it down there for you. Yeah, I'll put it in the comments. Seats fill up fast because I'm good at what I do. I don't say that to brag. I say it because it's true. Here you go. That is linked. So I did special discount pricing for the workshop for tonight only. This is not like publicly posted. This is only with this link. Special discount pricing if you sign up within the next hour. No, I don't have future sessions available. I don't have the time for it, honestly. When you have a new baby, that baby is like, I need my mommy. Babies don't let you, they don't do anything. I posted it. Here it is. I'll post it again. There it is. So a lot of you will say, you know what? I got everything from the last 60 minutes. That's all I need. But if you feel like you're being targeted or you feel like you've disputed before and it hasn't worked out in your favor, come to the workshop. Let's talk about it. Okay. So I'm going to put the link here again. Here it is again. And I will also put it in I will put it here. Okay. Look at the very bottom. Scroll to the bottom of your chat. There it is. It's at the very bottom. Every time you all type something, it like pushes it up or whatever. So here it is. There it is. I will put this in. Is there at the bottom. Every time you type, it pushes it away. Here it is. Here you go. There it is. Right. Yeah, every time somebody types, like it just pushes it out of the way. Sorry about that. There it is. All right. So while you all, if you want to sign up for that, go right ahead. I know if you do the platinum, there are just a few seats left for platinum, which is the bankruptcy repo and eviction removal that kicks off next week. So there are limited seats for that, very limited. But while you all are doing that, I'm sorry, I don't have the best eyesight. Some of the other receipts, shouting out Ty, shouting out Nubian Girl. She raised her score 96 points. Stephanie raised her husband's score 76 points, all within the first month. I'm just so proud of you people. Amy, I still got a bone to pick with you. We're not done here. We're not done at all. Yeah. So there you are. And that special pricing is only for within the next hour. So after that, the coupon will automatically, there's a coupon code that is attached to it that automatically expires because this is just special pricing. This is not like publicly posted like this. It just isn't. So ultimately, what would happen if you sign up for the gold? You'll get the 2 days of coaching. You're going to get all of the scripts. You're going to get all of the templates. We're going to have our live sessions. This is where you're going to bring your credit reports with you so we can answer any questions that you have about your credit report, so I can kind of guide you on how to structure your letter. If you need help with how to write the letter, what to say in the letter, what to say in the email, we'll talk about that June 6th and 7th. For those that want to do a deep dive with bankruptcy repos and evictions, you can still attend June 6th and 7th, but you're going to have 4 days with me. You'll have June 6th and 7th, and then the 11th and 12th. The 11th and 12th are going to be only for bankruptcy, repo, and evictions, because those are, like we said, they're a little bit more complex, and I have to spend more time on that to make sure that you ultimately have everything that you need. And I'm trying to do it, I need people to see results in less than 30 days. We're trying to be like Miss Amy over here with the 95-point increase and the $100,000 business loan that she just got. So that's what we're ultimately, like, I'm trying to accelerate this for you. So that's why I have it as like a 4-day workshop to give you time to pull your reports, give you time to plan for next week, and then you can we can talk about what you need to do with those bankruptcies, those repos, and with the evictions, getting those removed. Yeah, absolutely. So the workshops are going to be at 8 p.m. But if people have an issue with an 8 p.m. workshop, I can add a daytime workshop. If there are people that work at night, I can absolutely do that. But yes, you will have access to all the replays for the workshops. If you sign up for a workshop, yes, you'll have replay access. Yes, you absolutely can. You sure will. Okay, Amy. I told you we still got beef. I'm gonna give you so much flack because you didn't tell me this. You did not tell me. How do you do that? Listen, yes, roll to 800. And this is the thing, you all, when you learn this information, don't hover that information. Please, you should be the credit gurus of your family. You should be using this to help other people in your family. And if you want to go off and start your own credit education platform, or if you want to be on YouTube, do it. Spread the information. Don't hover it. I try to share everything I know. Now, my time is valuable. So if we're in a closed group, like a workshop, then yeah, that has a premium because I have to pay someone to watch my son. And it's not even about the money. It's just the fact that that's my first kid. And it's a lot to like take away from my kid. But yeah, so, okay. Okay, let me go back. Okay, I didn't see all these questions. Sorry. I was yapping. Sorry. Mm, okay, let's do this. Give me a second because I see a bunch of people asking some questions. Okay, give me 1 second. Nope, not that. I didn't want to do it because somebody was saying that they couldn't see the link. Pretty much, they're not able to see it in the chat box. So let me see how we can show it to you. Give me a second. I'm going to answer your questions. I just want to make sure. I know some people are on like mobile devices, so it might be hard for them to see that particular link. So I just want to make sure like everybody can ultimately see it. Yeah. We want to do a new share. Nope. So how about we do it this way? That's about you. Yep, I'm adjusting this for the people that are on mobile devices, but I don't want them to be like left out. I want to make sure that they can also see it. That wouldn't be fair. Okay, so I'm gonna put this right here. And yes, I will answer your questions. I see the questions out there. So here you go. Yeah, you should be able to see it. It might take a couple seconds for it to pop up. And I know some of you are like streaming. If you're streaming, I just like updated it. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so is freezing your credit report with LexisNexis necessary when fixing your credit? Um, that's a misconception. A lot of people think that freezing it helps with the dispute process. Freezing is only helpful when you're trying to prevent someone from pulling your credit during the application process. So say like for instance with me, I was a victim of identity theft like back in 2010ish, 2018 or something like that. Somebody no, sorry, 2008. 2008 to 2010 was like that span of identity theft. Someone stole my tax refund and they put a bunch of different accounts in my name. So I put a freeze on the credit bureau so that people couldn't put credit in my name without the company physically, like verbally calling me to get my verbal authorization. And they had to call my phone number, or I would have to appear in person to do a credit application. So nobody was able to do like an online credit application because I had a freeze. So when it comes to disputing, it doesn't necessarily sway the dispute process because that's not when someone's checking your credit like as part of a dispute, like validating an account, that's not the same as like applying for credit. So account validation doesn't require someone to pull your credit. They're just they're just matching up account information. So yeah, that is, it's not something that I necessarily have to do, but if it's something that you want to do, it doesn't hurt. It does not hurt to freeze it with LexisNexis checks check systems, a novice. It's just for me, it's an extra layer of security, right? Yeah. So that's what I consider freezing to be for me. Yeah. No, the discount code is already entered in that link, Sharon. It's pre-populated. Like I was saying, that link expires. So you don't have to enter anything. It's like it's pre-entered into that link. Awesome, Angie, you just signed up. I will see you there. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, I have to cherish these moments with the baby. Yeah. It's okay, Althea. It's okay. Amy, you said you're a student for life. Yes. So, student loan late payments. Remember, we were talking about taking student loans out of default status. A default status ultimately happens when you've missed, I think it's 9 payments. When you have 9 late payments, it goes into that default status. And that, definitely looks bad on your credit. So there is a way to potentially take student loans out of default and push them towards the on-time payment status, but it's going to depend on if you have federal loans versus private loans, because the processes are different for those. So yeah, it kind of depends on like who's servicing your loan, who is the student loan servicer. Yeah. Awesome, Maria. You got the gold. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So no, if you're using like any of the current templates, for one, you don't get all of the things that you get in the gold package. And for two, you don't get live access to me. So there are some people that you're like, okay, Jazzy, you gave me enough information tonight. I'm good. I don't have time for the workshop. No big deal. I gave you guys a lot of free game. And for a lot of you, like that's all you needed to get started. That was the kick in the butt you needed. But some people just like to do more hand holding. Like I'm that person. I like for people to like be within reach when I'm doing stuff like this. Like, I'm about to do this, but I need you to kind of like, just make sure like this is what I need to say. So yeah, it goes either way. It absolutely goes either way. No, it's just all a bundle. Like there aren't separate like templates that you can purchase. It's all bundled up. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you get the ones that are on the website, it's not going to include the bankruptcy repo. The links that are like on YouTube, those are like a different package. It's again, if you purchase that, you don't get access to me. You don't get to join the workshop. No. So that's like this is strictly for the workshops. Yeah. For evictions, if the debt was settled but never deleted, how complex is the process? That's the only thing stopping me from getting an apartment for me and my daughter, and I'm expecting, and they keep asking for co-signers. So again, we talked about if you bring that balance down to 0 or you settle it and it hasn't been deleted, that doesn't help, right? So in your situation, what we probably want to do is we figure out which bureau is holding it, because it's not going to be the big 3. It's going to be those third-party bureaus. So we need to look at which bureau those third parties has it. And we can develop a way to invalidate what they're saying, especially with it being paid. Like if it's paid, why do you keep deleting? Like, why do you keep reporting stuff? I hate when companies do that. Like I paid the debt, stop reporting it. But companies are like, they're conniving. So yeah, you can absolutely, there is a way to get the eviction removed from the third party. There's an envelope method that we'll talk about within the workshop. So yes, it is very possible. And I hate that you're going through that, Christine, while you're pregnant. I hate that. So as a new mom, I have to make sure that I fight extra hard for my fellow moms. So yes, I will work very hard to help you with removing that from that third party bureau. It's possible, yeah. For sure, it's possible. It's especially when you pay something off, like they don't really put up a fight at that point. It's just like, what else? Yeah, you can dispute collections and charge-offs that you settled for less than the original balance. Absolutely. Your school closed down back in 2019. Are you still liable for the student loan, or can you fight to get it removed? So it's going to depend, because if the school closed down, it has to have closed down within a certain time period. So it's going to depend on who your school is, if it was a federally backed loan, or if it was a private loan. There's a few different caveats, but yeah, generally, if the school closed down, that usually invalidates the loans if they deem that your degree is not usable, or if your credits are not transferable to another institution. Yes, I will post it. There it is. Um, Wendy, you did the Navy Federal hack and you got approved. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So the Navy Federal hack was something that I talked about on TikTok, where people that have a Navy Federal account but don't have like a credit card with them, they're able to get like instantly approved for $10,000 or more with Navy Federal. Some people got like 25,000, and of course those types of things, help your credit as long as you're keeping the balances very low or to zero. Well, that's awesome, Wendy. Super proud of you. I love that you used the hack. Aren't those hacks fun? Like when you start using that stuff, like it's pretty dope. Like, yeah, it's awesome. Super freaking dope. Yes. Let me see what other questions you have. Awesome, Wendy. Just signed up for gold, just got the platinum. Awesome. Yeah, if you have a collection, it doesn't really matter where it's from. Pretty much all collections are removable if you have a very specific plan of attack. You cannot use the same generic, like these. The reason why I tell people not to use a generic template that you find on Google is because the credit bureaus have seen it 1,000 times. At some point, you have to switch up like what you're using because they've seen it. So even with my templates, I do updates on them whenever someone like buys a kit. I still update the information in them because laws change. There are new credit laws that happen and that change that you have to kind of stay on top of. So anytime you buy something from me, you have like this lifetime access to the template and just the updates that get pushed out to it. Yes, I do have a list of third-party bureaus, Yolanda. Yes. I didn't have time to share them here, and we can talk more about them, a little bit more about them tomorrow. Absolutely. And we're 30 minutes over. Sorry. Jasmine, about the Navy Federal hack, it's not a certain amount of time that you need to leave it in the account. Like if it's in there for a couple days, then again, doing it at night after 11 p.m. generally works out in your favor. Okay, Jaya, great question. I paid my car off with no late payments and it's reported on my credit report. Should I remove this? If you have no late payments, you have perfect payment history. Why would you remove that? Removing an account like that can lower your score. And you have to remember that this is like a reference letter from an old boss that talks about how great of an employee you were. Why would you throw that letter in the trash? That's what that account is. That account is a reference letter. If you had perfect payment history, you need to let that thing sit. Let it sit for a while. Like let it sit. If you paid it off and the account is still open, let that account stay open as long as possible, because every month that it's open, that even if the balance is zero on an active account, that's positive payment history. That helps your credit. Okay. Yep, Teresa asked for the original contract. So where should you go to check your credit if you shouldn't use Credit Karma? myfico.com or Experian.com. I have them both, myfico.com or Experian.com. They show FICO scores. Same question, Nicole, myFICO or Experian? Yes, yes, yes. So that's totally okay, Tanisha. You definitely have the option to do the templates, the ones that are on YouTube, but I have no clue when I'll be able to do another workshop, because I have a small new baby, and that little sucker doesn't allow me to do much of anything. Yeah. Yeah, Biden did cancel a bunch of student loan debt from different colleges. Amy, yes, it's possible to remove a collection that you paid off. We talked about that earlier. Like when you pay it off, you can still dispute it away. Absolutely. Ooh, Amber, you got 25,000 from the Navy Federal hack. Awesome. I'm so proud of y'all. Listen, I'm just so proud of y'all. What about the X1 cards, Wendy? You can request an invite from the website, but there is a wait list. Their wait list, I think, is like 5 or 6 months. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll talk about those third-party bureaus. We can't do that much of a deep dive because there are a lot of them, but I'll tell you about like the top 5 bureaus, the third-party bureaus. We'll also answer any other questions that you all have. But tomorrow is just going to be like an overview where we wrap up. Yeah. What if it was paid off with excellent payment history, but the creditor closed the account due to inactivity? Then in the next week, reopened the account under a new brand name. What are you asking? Are you saying is that a bad thing? What are you saying, Elle? Tell me a little bit more about that. Awesome, Dylan. Just got the gold. Awesome. See you in a few days. Yeah. Crystal, if you don't know what the Navy Federal hack is, you can look on my TikTok at I am Jazzy Mac. Yeah, I did a TikTok video on the Navy Federal hack. Yes. Can you dispute a collection you still owe? Excellent question. Yes, you absolutely can. If there is a collection that hasn't hit your credit yet, you still have a right to dispute it and ask for validation, even if it hasn't hit your credit yet. If it's just sitting with the collection agency and they just sent you that first notice, you absolutely can dispute that. Guess what? I do it. Ooh, Ashton, you got 200,000 in student loans removed. Woo, Ashton. He said because of Biden. Listen, I love it. That's amazing, Ashton. Because 200,000 can buy you a house. Well, not not in most places. Some places it can. It depends on what part of the country you're in. If we're handwriting, what color ink should I use? Always say red or blue. It doesn't matter which paper you write on as long as you're not typing the letter. Yeah, as long as you're not typing, you can use any paper. You can write those letters like on a napkin, on like a paper towel. Like it doesn't have to be a certain type of paper that you use. No. We'll talk about removing old addresses from credit reports tomorrow. We ran out of time tonight, but I can show you all how to do that tomorrow. But there's also, for the people in the workshop, there's also going to be a guide for you involved in your course library that talks about that stuff. And you'll get access to all that stuff the day before the workshop. Yeah. Yeah, you'll get access to that full library the day before the workshop. I'm just giving everyone time to like get their credit reports in order. I need you to pull all 3 credit reports. FICO credit reports. Yes. All right. Well, this is the end. I'm sorry we went a little bit over, but I will be back here tomorrow. And I cannot wait to see you all. Yes, I'll put it down there one more time. There you go. I'll see you all on tomorrow. We'll do a very quick overview tomorrow. And I hope everyone has a great night. I'm so excited for those of you that signed up for the workshop. I absolutely cannot wait. Like I have so much good stuff in store. If you felt like this was helpful, you felt like you learned a lot, give me a 1 in the chat. If you felt like you learned a whole lot of free game, give me a 1 in the chat. I need to just let me know. You felt like this wasn't what you signed up for. You didn't get your money's worth. Let me know that too. You felt like you didn't get your money's worth. Listen, this is a whole bunch of free games. So this replay will be available tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be available. So for a short amount of time. You are so welcome. So welcome. So I will see everyone later. Have a wonderful night. Good night. Good night. Good night. God.